Hello, this is Darren Marchant, the Astroponicist, and I'm here today to discuss how the courts and the police agencies and social services extract money from the taxpayers by utilizing the homeless for this purpose. Homeless individuals are disconnected from the community. This is done by harassment by police and by manufactured accusations. The police will train the populace to report any homeless as if they're a crime by their own existence. And if they don't get any calls in and they notice a homeless person, they may create or solicit a call. This is illegal, but they'll do it anyway. They'll approach the homeless person claiming that a call has been made. They have to respond. That call might have been made by themselves. It might have been made by someone in the community that they can count on to make those calls all the time, every time a homeless person is sighted. They may solicit someone to call, to initiate that call. This may be done through intimidation, coercion. So they may go and speak to someone at a library or someone at a business nearby and say, would you call this in for us? Either way, whether that call exists or not, the homeless person has no way of knowing, and they don't have any money to call a lawyer right away, and they typically are not well informed about their rights. The police know this, the courts know this, and the lawyers know this. So the first thing that happens is the police will approach escalating the situation. They'll raise their voice, they'll raise the timbre of their accusations. They're very good at escalating the situation and insinuating crimes where there isn't any. The homeless person might be on public property, like a public library, or even sitting outside of the courthouse. The police will claim it's private property and they have to leave. And then they'll follow that homeless person wherever they go in the city, claiming that that person is doing something wrong. Follow them all over the city. They will also keep this homeless person awake as much as possible, as long as possible. This along with the aggressive nature and close proximity to that person, constantly in their face and constantly keeping them awake, is very likely to produce something that on an edited body cam video will be convincing enough to pass court. They'll issue citations that, under the conglomerate of the circumstances, might not really hold up, but they don't have to worry about that. They have, the court is going to cooperate with this. The lawyers are going to cooperate with this because they all get paid every time one of those tickets is written and run through the courts. They'll drag this out. They have so many cases of these minor, petty little misdemeanors. It's not a felony, so there's less rights. So they control the severity and they milk the public for the money. If they get in trouble and the person sues them, which is not that common, except now with the First Amendment auditors, they simply pay the fines out of the public tax base, and the police, the lawyers, and the judges don't have to suffer any punishment whatsoever. Multiple interactions means multiple paychecks for the same interaction. A poorly, low quality citation, a citation that is sketchy, might result in several demanded, compulsory visits under duress, under threat of further arrest and further confinement and parole and these kinds of things. The homeless person is stuck. They have no support in the community because they're driven from community to community until they're old and they're tired and they can't handle it anymore. And it's often that the police will herd the homeless into manageable areas where social services, food banks, soup kitchens, shelters, and they'll constantly threaten and coerce people into moving into these places and using the facilities. And that's where they get to say, look, they're not productive, they're just taking. Well, they can't be productive because they can't get jobs, because no one will hire them, because they can't get an address that's anything other than the shelter, which the police and the DMV and whoever issues identifications in any given state, whatever parish or county. Everybody knows that this address means you're homeless, so they won't give you a job. You become a meal ticket for tax-dependent civil servants, civil employees. If you end up in jail, if you get stressed out from 72 hours of being awake and followed around by the cops and having them in your face yelling at you and making all kinds of false accusations and stress from low quality food and constant harassment and all these kinds of things, and you take a pop at them or you yell at them and they use it somehow, or you move your hand or something like that, and they accuse you of resisting arrest or any of those kinds of things, they get to bump that up. Right? As long as it's not a felony, they don't really have to work too hard to turn that into a fairly serious problem for the homeless guy and a paycheck from the taxpayer. So Republicans report that they constantly note that they support the police and they give honor to the police, the courts, the lawyers, social services, all these kinds of things, while deriding those who use them. Well, when you're faced with starvation or eating at a soup kitchen, you're inclined to eat at the soup kitchen. So this is how that works. And this is why you have to pay so much taxes when there's an increasing number of homeless. So if you're going to give to charities, I recommend that you give directly to the homeless, and especially to those homeless who behave well in your presence, that are polite, that don't steal, that have something that they want to do that they're doing, that occasionally help someone, that you see them pick up trash or anything of that nature, any kind of good deed. You see a homeless person. Instead of giving it to the food banks and the soup kitchens, you go to that person, you say, here you go. This is for you. This is Darren Marchant, the Astroponicist. Thank you.